Hello everybody and welcome back to another tropical update here by Adrian's Weather Forecast. It's going to be another tropical discussion and outlook here for the Atlantic. As we can very well see, a very hyperactive season, very active season. Can very well see a ton of the named storms, hurricanes, and all of that. And since there's not much to talk about, what severe weather, not really anything U.S. pattern like, or any active tropical system right now, I just thought I might as well do another tropical update here for hurricane outlook and discussion, so you guys can see what we can expect for the season. Exactly, we're going to be talking about why this season can very well be a very hyperactive season. But before we get in the video, please smash that like button to show your awesome support. And also smash that subscribe button to show that you love my daily weather forecast. We're so close to 2,410 subscribers, so please hit the subscribe button. Also, be sure to share the video to anybody that you know wants to know about this potential hyperactive season. But without further ado, let's get into this video. First thing we're going to start off is what NOAA, or the National Hurricane Center, is showing here for this busy hurricane season here, hyperactive season. This came out a couple weeks ago. Actually, it came out in May of last month here. But so this is what their latest update here shows. As you see, they predict 13 to 19 named storms, which 13 seems to be on the lower side, but that's what they're showing, 13 to 19. So pretty big range for storms. I would break a bit higher, and 6 to 10 hurricanes. So they say minimum of 6 hurricanes this year, and then that highest fringe of the 10 hurricanes, so double digit amount of hurricanes. And major hurricanes is 3 to 6 hurricanes, which I really do agree with. As you see, they have a 60% chance for above average active season wise, so above average activity for the Atlantic hurricane season for the activity wise, and also a 30% chance for near normal. So near normal can mean just above average or very close to being a regular normal, and then a 10% chance for being below average season. So they believe there's a 1 out of 10 chance that this will become a very below average activity season. They have a 60% chance, very high confidence, for this being a very active and a hyperactive season based on average. So NOAA and the National Hurricane Center are predicting a very busy Atlantic hurricane season. Now let's go ahead and check out now why we think this could be a very hyperactive and extreme season that we don't see every single year. So first thing to show exactly why we can be seeing a hyperactive season is because we're going to most likely see a La Nina this summer, coming to the summer and maybe even for portions of the winter. What a La Nina brings is it brings in less wind shear and warmer sea surface temperatures for portions of the tropical Atlantic and northern Atlantic here. And what that means is very favorable conditions for hurricanes. Of course, we can have this happening in a El Nino, but it's not as likely to happen, because on average, La Ninas bring a lot more active seasons based on named storm wise or hurricane wise. So based on averages, La Ninas bring more of an active season or higher threat of having a hyperactive season. But this year is most likely to be a La Nina. We already entered La Nina phase. Actually, in late May, we actually got up to almost negative 0.6. So that means we actually reached that La Nina phase, but now it's back at a very weak neutral. What we really need is a strong La Nina by really before August, which most likely could happen. So this thing is going to be continuing to drop on numbers. So that means it could become a La Nina very soon. It's not too far whatsoever from getting that negative 0.5 number wise, so it's getting very close to that. This is one of the reasons why we are going to be seeing a potential hyperactive season. And just because it is, we're not saying that just because it's a La Nina, it's just saying because just in the pattern change, we're going to be seeing MJOs coming earlier this year. Could be seeing very warm temperatures already to start. Not only that, we're already seeing 2 named storms before June 1st, which is already showing this is going to become a very active season. And not all La Ninas are like this, but just based on what we've already seen and what we're continuing to see, this pattern, this will be a very active season with many more named storms to come and many more landfalls and threats. Now let's go and mention the SSTs here. What you need for a La Nina, you need very cold temperatures for a portion of the Central Pacific and a very cold temperatures for off that goes to South America. That is what you need for La Nina. You cannot have warm waters for the Central Pacific and cool waters for just South America. That means it will be a El Nino here. So basically, we are getting very close to La Nina phase once again, because look at these very cold temperatures up to 3.6 degrees or colder below average here. As you see, we are seeing some more pockets of warm SSTs popping back up in the Pacific here, near where we have these cooler waters, which is why we are possibly not at a La Nina right now. This is probably what it went back to neutral. We are seeing very warm pockets of warm air. Warm temperatures coming and possibly affecting the cooler temperatures here. So if we do have this strengthening of the cooler oceans here off the coast of South America into portions of Central America, really, this is where you want to have cooler waters right here. This is where you want cooler waters. That'll happen if it strengthens. We'll possibly enter that La Nina phase once again. So as you see, if you look at the SSTs, it really looks like we're really nearing the La Nina phase or La Nina looks based on the SSTs. Let's go and check out now closely the Northern Atlantic to see exactly how favorable the conditions for the Northern Atlantic right now, and also see who is the threat of having these tropical cyclones or systems moving in their area. So here you are looking at the tropical and northern Atlantic here. So here you have very warm waters for generally much of the northern Atlantic here. Very warm waters as well for especially the Caribbean has very warm waters as of now. Really, the Caribbean is the most favorable region in the Atlantic to have tropical systems in the month of June. June is going to be very active for parts of the Caribbean. July can be very active for the tropical Atlantic. August as well going to be active for this area. Even September, October, all these months are going to be very active for these general areas. But June's definitely going to be having a threat for the Caribbean. We already had some system not too far off in the Caribbean, actually right here, which was obviously Cristobal right there. And the other two systems was Arthur and Bertha right there in off the coast of the United States. But as you see, we are seeing very warm temperatures as well for portions of the eastern coast of the United States. So if we continue to see these really warm waters continue to strengthen, we're going to be seeing some very favorable conditions. We need warm SSTs and also very moist air, so moist atmosphere, not a dry atmosphere, because that's really unbearable. And also very little wind shear. That's what you need. These three things. Obviously, it's a lot. There's more like convection, all of that. But three things that have a system, whether it's an invest or tropical named storm, to be favorable in its atmosphere. So this is what you need. And we are seeing these favorable conditions. So warm SSTs, check. La Nina coming in very close to a check mark. Already active season as of now. Already check. We're checking all the boxes for having a hyperactive season. And let's go ahead and check out now exactly how long will these favorable conditions last. Will they last all the way from now to the end of November, or they last a couple months and then die down at the end of the season? Let's go ahead and check that out exactly. We're going to be thinking about look at the amount of precipitation, which obviously you want more precipitation in the atmosphere that have favorable conditions for tropical systems. So here we're looking at the Northern Atlantic here for the precipitation anomaly for all the way to July to March of 2021. But we're going to be focusing July, August, September, October, November, even December. Actually, December, we still have to worry about possibly maybe one or two tropical systems. As you see, this is the month of June. This is what we're looking at right now. Or this is actually for July. This is for July. As you see, July has very favorable conditions for portions of the Caribbean and the Gulf of Mexico. This is where you can have many systems in July. Just because you are seeing below average precipitation, to me, you're not going to have anything, but it's just not as favorable. As you see, very unfavorable conditions for portions of off the coast of West Africa, for portions of the tropical Atlantic. We're not going to be seeing, most likely MJO might not be able to come through. It all depends really. Maybe have this tropical wave get all the way over here, and the MJO can bring systems to develop right here where we have favorable conditions instead of right here. So we might have systems that actually form a lot more to the east or a lot more to the west, and then they thrive in the warmer waters and a lot of moist atmosphere. Very favorable conditions for these areas for July, really the Caribbean, the Gulf of Mexico, all those areas. Now we check out for August. August also seems very favorable for a portion of that as well for now the United States. United States and the threats. We have the Gulf of Mexico thriving here, and also portion of the Caribbean, the Bahamas, and all the way to South or all the way to North America can have some maybe go like this or go like this, and also a bit more favorable conditions for portions off the coast of West Africa here. So maybe we have in less SEL, which is Saharan air level dust, and that's going to be less of that. That means maybe favorable conditions for the West Coast of Africa now. With the MJO coming in September, September seems very favorable as well. A lot of precipitation for portions off the coast of West Africa for the tropical Atlantic, and also for the Caribbean, Bahamas, and Gulf of Mexico as well. These areas seem very favorable for September as well. These areas really favorable to have systems to develop right here. Maybe make a landfall, maybe a long track system to go like this. All depends. So really, if we have a small pocket of dry air, it doesn't really, or a little area of below average precipitation, doesn't really matter. It just can't be significant a large area. It can be a small area, and that won't really do much. October, we might have a really late season system like Michael. Michael's October, but obviously it may landfall in Florida. But maybe we can have some October systems developing for maybe the U.S. Virgin Islands, Windland Islands, depending on really how favorable conditions are. Even November, the Caribbean's at a threat for November. Even portions of the Yucatan Peninsula is in a threat for November. Even December. December seems very favorable. Very, very favorable for portions of the Caribbean, which the Caribbean has the warmest, tends to have really warm waters, almost the warmest waters in the Atlantic, other than off the coast of South America. We have very warm waters, but really, these waters do not cool down until really mid-January, really in these areas. So, of course, really going to be seeing favorable conditions for portions of the Caribbean, Northern Atlantic, and all the way off the west coast of Africa. We're going to have strong amounts of tropical activity to come off possible Africa, and make landfall in the Caribbean. Now let's go and check out the wind shear and actually see exactly how long will this wind shear. Actually, let's go ahead and check out my own personal map of my forecast and see exactly you guys, if you want to see my opinion on this season, let's go and check that out. So this is my personal map here. You guys saw this yesterday's. As you see, this is where I think, based on the cone activity, I'm rating the activity-wise this season based on cones. So this is the first cone right here, the yellow cone. This is where we can have a close call landfall or some tropical activity, which means we can have maybe a close landfall where a system goes like this and then skins the coast, or we can have maybe a system that possibly makes landfall, surprisingly, for the U.S. coast, whether it's the Mid-Atlantic or New England area. Of course, this is a very large cone, so this system can go anywhere. So it can either go, we can have a system that goes like at the edge of the cone, or we can have a system that goes directly in the middle of the cone, or we're going to have a system that goes right in the edge of the cone but on the other side. So really, if you're in the yellow cone, you don't have to be on a super close on your tippy toes for this season, but you want to look out for maybe a close landfall, maybe some impacts of remnants of something. You just want to be on the lookout, but not as urgent. Like you don't have to go ahead and get a generator or have a huge plan. You want to have a plan, but it's not urgent right now. But just expect maybe an activity or something like that, maybe impacted by remnants, maybe some heavy rain. Expect that. And the red, this is definitely where you want to be prepared. You definitely want to be prepared if you're in the red. You definitely maybe want to have, especially on the coast. If you're in the coast of the red, you really want to maybe have a generator, especially with the COVID-19 or the virus. You definitely want to watch out with being prepared, especially since we are having a different impact. Of course, not a normal season this year. If you're in the red, you're going to be seeing the most activity. That's where you're going to be seeing the eye of the activity, the eye of where the most of the system will go this season in the Atlantic. So the portions of the Bahamas, portions of the Eastern Caribbean. Of course, we can't leave out Florida, South Carolina, Georgia, and Alabama. Even portions of North Carolina, we've already had one direct landfall and one close landfall. And now the orange. This is where you definitely are on the red. If you're in the red, you definitely want to be on the tippy toes. You want to have a plan immediately this year, even if you're all the way up in portions of Tennessee and you're in the red. Technically, portions of Tennessee are in the red. That's because you can be seeing a big impact, really heavy rain, strong winds. In the orange, you definitely want to be on your tippy toes too, but not as on your tippy toes as the red. The orange is the second most favorable area of where it can be seen the tropical activity, obviously after the red. See, the orange says some activity in hurricanes. We can be seeing some long track systems that can possibly affect the Caribbean and then the Gulf of Mexico. Or we're going to have systems like Cristobal that form in the Bay of Campeche and head north. So just because you're in the cone, just because the cone's going this way doesn't mean that all systems will go this way. We're going to have systems that develops right here and then goes like that. Or we're going to have systems that go like this and goes like that. So if you're in the orange, you definitely be on the lookout, especially for the Gulf Coast there. So this is my my decision. This is my forecast, really, not my final forecast. I have many more new predictions here as the season goes on. But this is what I think as of right now. My hurricane season forecast. Nobody else's. Total named storms, I believe 17 to 22 is reasonable. We've already had 3, so that's cutting really. That means either 14 to maybe 19 left to come. Hurricanes, 8 to 12 hurricanes. I expect 8 to 12 hurricanes this year. We have yet to have any this year, but we've had 3 tropical storms. And then major hurricanes, like I said, I agree with the National Hurricane Center. 3 to 6, it seems very reasonable. If we have a super active June with a major hurricane, I might extend this to maybe 3 to 7 major hurricanes. Hope you guys did enjoy the video, though. Please do not forget to like and subscribe, and bye, guys.